Okay, today is Tuesday, October 3. We are at the Charlton Board of Health meeting. John Sanborn and Matt Gagner in attendance on the board. We also have Jim Philbrook, Health Director, with us, and special guest, Mr. Gary Magnuson from CMG Environmental. Let's see, first agenda item is going to be acceptance of minutes, September 5, 2023.
I'll make a motion that we accept the prior meeting minutes of September 5th, 2023.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimous.
He's signing
Come on it.
it.
Next agenda item is going to be Flint Road landfill. Gary, I know that is why you are here, so please take it away for us, if you will.
Sure. We'll do three separate little segments here. First one is relating to the landfill capping portion of 54. Things are going well. The report on the test pits will go into DEP hopefully this week. We are on schedule to meet the end of November deadline for submittal of the capping design plans. We do need to work with this board and Andrew in regards to some property boundary issues. We've done some more research with that with our surveyor, and it actually is going to be a little easier than we thought. It's some legal filings, just making an agreement between the town that the landfill boundary is at one place and the street boundary is a different place, so it's not as difficult as we had originally thought. There is a minor boundary issue with the abutter on the backside of the landfill, but that's just an adjustment of it. It's not taking anybody's property, it's clarifying a property boundary. So that's essentially a quick claim deed to fix that. And I'd like to get a meeting with Andrew if possible, because he's got to deal with all those issues as soon as he's back next week to try to get those resolved. Doesn't change the design, doesn't change anything. They're just a couple legal issues we've got to get figured out. We talked, I had presented to this board probably a year ago, 8 months ago, some concepts on capping design.
Yeah.
So we do need to lock in which design you guys want to go with.
By when?
By your next meeting, I'll need an answer from you guys. There's really not a lot of, there's three essential options. One is cap it flat, which you really can't even do because you have so much material there. You have to pull back some of the edges, and which is going to make it higher. A middle option is capping it for passive recreation, and then there's another option of trying to fit as much material as possible in there to bring as much revenue into the town, because once you design this cap, we have to reshape the landfill to meet the cut and fill, the slope requirements that DEP has. Once you've done that, if there's any airspace above that, you can fill that with what we call COM 9701 material, which you get paid for.
Construction material.
It's mildly contaminated material that almost every landfill in Massachusetts, as it gets capped, is used for basically finishing the shaping and building of that landfill. The top 3 feet is all going to be brought in special material, but anything to get you to that shape can bring revenue to the town. Generally, it works through the contractor, so we'll know that there's, and we had laid out some scenarios. I don't have the numbers with me tonight, but it's around 40 or 50,000 yards of material. It's not a huge number. Some landfills are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of yards. So there is an ability to offset the cost of the project. Those numbers right now are all over the board as far as the per ton price and per yard price. There are very few places to dispose of material, so the numbers are going up. So I'm not comfortable even telling you guys what kind of revenue you could expect at this point, but it'll be moderately significant.
All right, John, you want to talk about this?
we can, or we can pass on it until we get Catherine here. I'm open to anything.
Let's have a discussion on it. I'm not necessarily a vote or come up with a decision. Let's just start the wheels thinking about
Okay.
this. 40, 50,000, yeah, it sounds like a big number. In the dirt world, it's a medium number, right? What's that, like 2,000 truckloads?
Something like that, yeah.
In that ballpark, right? There's gonna be an additional expense for the town to get that permit for that
No, it's carried under the landfill, under the cap. We'll say, we're gonna take in COM 97 material.
Mm-hmm.
The only additional cost to the town, and it will be either be through the contractor or you guys will do it directly, is you'll have to have an LSP oversee that material, those packages come in.
Mm-hmm.
But that usually, a lot of times, we can have the company bringing the material in pay that fee. So there shouldn't really be an offset fee to the town. I don't want to speak to the exact legalities of it, but the way these normally work is you'll bid the project out. The contract will have 30,000 yards of COM 97 material, and the bidder will say, we will reimburse the town X dollars per ton, or X dollars per yard, or we'll reduce the price by X dollars. So you'll get a finished number, and his number will include, paperwork approvals, likely, grading, shaping, tracking pads, taking care of the road, dust, all of that stuff associated with it. And then the town will you'll see the records come through, and you may use us as your LSP, you might use somebody else to approve the packages of the material goes in, so that the material goes in meets the appropriate requirement. The entity bringing the material to you will have to have an LSP sign off on it and say, this meets the criteria. And then you have another person review it and say, yes, it meets the criteria, and then it can go in. But it all folds into the package.
So back to our conversation, John. I believe we attempted this on 90 Flint Road, and we had everything under the sun coming in. The dirt was actually purple in spots. I mean, it was bad. It was, you couldn't drive on it. It was wishy-washy, which is fine for a landfill, but it was terrible, and it became a problem for this board. Financially, it was probably a problem for the town, and for us trying to go in to save dollars, we want to make sure we do it properly and eyes open on it, because if it goes south, that could backfire on us and be an expense to us. Now, I think the process that you're presenting to us sounds much more policed or strict than what may have happened in the past, Gary. And I have no doubt that if your team or an LSP team is signing off pre-dump and post-dump and all that, that it's gonna be accurate. But I just, I'm totally for being able to save the town as much and I think 2,000 truckloads, I think that dollar value is gonna be up there where, yeah, it is a big, it's gonna be a number. It's not gonna be, 5,000, it's probably not gonna be in the tens of thousands, it's probably gonna be north of that.
Oh, it should be 6 figures easily.
6 figures.
Yeah.
So, I'm on board with doing that, John, and if there's no additional engineering fees or hidden fees that, if it wasn't for that, I would say I'm not interested, because we could be opening up a can of worms that we really don't want to do. But and the reason when I say let's talk about it now, if he's saying we're gonna make a decision by our next meeting, and we have kind of put this on our table and haven't done much with it, obviously I would wait for Catherine to come in and be able to have her opinion on it as well. I wouldn't make a big decision like this, but I don't see a problem with it. I know, I don't want to call it dirty dirt, but I know landfills accept dirty dirt. It's acceptable, and like Gary said, it's not the dirtiest of the dirt. It's acceptable for landfills specifically in our town and stuff. So I think we should consider it strongly to do that, and maybe take a good chunk offset. Gary, what was the negatives to doing that?
Well, the negative is, so right now, you drive by there and it's a treed area. once this job is done, there will be not one tree from the edge of Flint Road to the back of that landfill. So the abutters are going to see a landfill. If you make it flat or don't put any material in there, it's gonna have a mild, it'll look like a whaleback, a small whaleback. If you put the maximum amount of material, the maximum amount, it can't be as steep as your current landfill at 90 Flint Road. That doesn't meet the requirement. You got an exemption for that because of the issues. But it can't be that steep. It needs to be a 2-to-1 slope. So for every foot you go up, you have to go, the whole slope has to go in 2 feet. So it's not a 45-degree, it's a 30-degree slope. So you could make it essentially a 30-degree slope to a pinpoint at the top. You're not gonna do that. You're gonna make it a 30-degree slope with a flat section at the top. So, but it will be 17 to 22 feet higher than it currently is.
Right now, Gary, it's a question
So
for you.
that's a negative.
Yeah, and it's a huge issue, especially if you're the house across the street that already live up on the hill that are elevated, looking over this thing. So that was a question to you. How many houses across the street directly? There's more than 2.
So I personally looked at it, 59 is a house that sits up high. We do the testing there. And his was a good example because he's got a very steep driveway.
Is that Ray's house?
No, that's the police officer, Mr. Green.
Okay.
I've been up there and I stood in his front yard and just kind of did a visual look because he's up about 25 feet. So, but he's got a big treed area in his front yard, so he doesn't have an open front yard, so he's not really gonna see a lot, but I kind of evaluated where that tree line would be. And it's not gonna change a lot. It'll be grass, it'll be mowed, it'll look neat. There are some homes in the 40 to 50, like 40, don't quote me, I think I wanna say 43 to about 53 Flint Road that are relatively close to the road and will have direct access, direct vision of this because there's no significant trees in their front yard. Those houses are 50 to 80 feet off the road.
Yeah.
So there's currently a line of trees and shrub and scrub at the landfill. That's all gonna come down. It'll end up with probably a 6 or an 8 foot fence that will most likely put a green barrier through the fence, so you won't see that.
Yeah.
But you will, because the houses sit up high, and they're gonna see the landfill. But even if you did nothing, you would be above the height of the fence. Because to pull the grades back and to make it work, you're still gonna be higher than the fence.
Right. But if we take in the 97, what did you think we could go? We talked about 3 scenarios on that as well, didn't we?
We did. There's 4 essentially. The highest scenario I want to say was like around 50,000 yards, and the next one down is about 40,000, and it's significantly lower than the highest one. And that one is not dramatically different than height-wise than doing what they call passive recreation. So it'll be basically a big flat area. You'll come up to a big flat area. The issue with trying to make it passive recreation or something of that nature, and I can't speak to this completely, but you generally have to make parking then. Because if you're gonna make a dog park or you're gonna make a trail, it's only 7 acres. And 4 of it's gonna be a slope. So are you really gonna make a 3-acre, it's a quarter-mile walk. And then you're gonna have to build a parking lot for that, because you can't have people park on the road to access a public space.
Well,
You don't
then-
have sidewalks on that road.
Lighting,
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons.
stormwater.
Well, we're still gonna have to do stormwater
Yeah,
control, but if we do parking, we have to do
Then you gotta
control of
do-
that
right,
too.
yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons not to make it passive recreation. If it was a 50-acre landfill or a 30-acre landfill, and it was proximal to something else where you could get access, I think it might make some sense. But I think what you guys are trying to do is cap a landfill that is a source of contamination right now. By way of background, the PFAS that I'm going to talk about next, the PFAS concentrations in the capped landfill in the groundwater are 1 to 200 parts per trillion. The PFAS concentrations in the uncapped landfill are 500 to 700 parts per trillion. So just by capping it, the concentrations are 3 times lower. And
Because of
Because there's
water
no
infiltration.
right.
Yeah.
There's no infiltration.
Right.
So-
Less infiltration.
This comm, right, we're not gonna put a liner underneath this. We're capping this.
There's no liner underneath this landfill currently, and there will not be a liner underneath this
Okay,
landfill.
so if we have the concerned citizen or even the concerned board that says, all right, so just regardless, we're under the thumb of DEP. This thing has to be capped. That, we know that. But now, our town says, hey, let's save $1 or $1 million or somewhere in between. Let's bring in all this calm, squish this down. Are we creating more of a problem, and
That's
are
my
we
concern.
squishing out, are we making a problem, an environmental problem worse for $1? And I'm not saying we are, I'm just asking the question out loud.
No, that's the fair question, the correct question to ask. Generally, no, because this landfill's not that thick of material anyways. You only have, I think in the maximum area, it's only about 20 feet thick. So you have to get a cap over it anyways. The experience has shown that capping with, the COM 97 material you cap with is basically natural or urban fill. You can't take a petroleum contaminated site and send very dirty petroleum contaminated soil there. It doesn't meet COM. COM 97's criteria is not very dirty at all. But what happens is people are doing construction projects in an urban area, and there's bricks and coal ash and things of that nature, and that material just can't go to another yard to get crushed and made into a new material and go to someone's backyard. It has to be controlled. So that's the type of material that comes to these facilities.
I'm not concerned about, well, I am concerned about it, and you answered that question for me, but my concern wasn't so much about contaminating with the comm material. My concern was pressing the contaminants that already exist in that garbage soup, the landfill, the 1-4 and all of it, and then putting additional weight and giving us another round of contaminants. That was,
Those engineering controls are being looked at. That's what we're doing right now, and that's what Langdon Engineering is doing for us. I think what we might want to do is, I'll get Bruce Haskell, who's the landfill engineer, who's doing this project with us, to come into the next meeting, and we can answer some of those questions. Bruce does this exclusively. That's all he does, is
Yeah.
caps landfills.
and Bruce did a great job for us back on 90. No problems with Bruce.
And the reason I reached out to him and got him on this team is he is the best one out there.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
so I don't want to speak out of turn. I can't answer all those questions exactly, whereas Bruce deals with it every single day. So I think at the end of this meeting, let's set the next one, and I'll make a point to make sure he's available.
Yeah, so it's a hard call for this board, right? Because I'm not the one living across the street in the house. If I was and it didn't hurt my feelings, I'd be all for it. But we don't want to have residents that pay taxes live across the street and then for whatever reason feel as though their property values are decreasing because they have to look at this mound. The landfill was there prior, so that doesn't change, but now if we landscape this in such a fashion that it's a big mound of, what is that? Oh, that's the landfill. I'd want to give those homeowners a fair shake on it to at least hear them out. I mean, we already talked to those residents, all of them, quarterly or more?
Yeah, we talk to them, and there's a few here, and I tell them the board meeting, and I generally, if I'm in their house or I'm texting them, I tell them when the next meeting is, and say, please come and express your concerns. So,
Do we have, any of you live, are you one of the houses across?
On Old Town.
You're on Old Town.
So I'm kind of curious because there is a clear view down Old Town Road where you can see.
you won't, so your view down Old Town looks to the access road to 90 Flint.
Okay.
So you won't be able to see
It
the
won't- that won't be
54 Flint
visible.
Road from where you are.
Right.
Through the woods, when the trees are gone, you may be able to see something.
Okay.
I can't exactly tell. We'd have to look. I'll stand on your deck next time and we'll take a look.
Yeah,
for you.
it's really, I'm guessing you won't be able to because there are trees at the corner.
There's trees at the corner.
Of
There's the house at
Flint
63.
and
There's
Old
kind of some
Town.
topography. I don't think you're going to be able to see it. But-
Probably not enough to put a red flag up and say, my property's values just dropped because of that.
Well, I mean, and that's my big thing, the property value has dropped for us,
Mm.
right? And I don't know if you were gonna touch base on that tonight, or where we stand.
Because of the water issue?
Yeah,
Hmm.
cause I mean, our last test, we were right up there.
With the PFAS?
Mm-hmm.
So, excuse me, I'll jump in. They're at 14
Yeah.
Old Town roads. They're kind of in the middle of
Mhm.
Old Town on the northern side. They were at 13 parts per trillion when I sampled in June. I just got their results back 3 or 4 days ago. I reached out to you, and they're at 19.
Hmm.
So below 20, but awful close.
And rising.
Right.
13 and 19, we're measuring parts per trillion.
Right.
I'm not,
Okay.
if it was 2 and 19, rising.
Right.
13 and 19, that's kind of the same number
Fair
in my
enough.
mind.
In single numbers, it's a big number. If you're playing baseball, that's a big number.
Allowable is
But
20.
Parts per
Right.
trillion,
So,
yeah, parts per trillion, I see it's,
We're right at the
Right.
ability to measure.
it is 20.
And
Right.
that's why, and I reached out to Jim when I got her data and wanted to let Jim know that I wanted to talk with her. Because we weren't obligated to talk to you because it's below 20. We just have to
Right,
keep
that's
sending me
right.
the data, but I want to
Right.
keep the line of communication open and let everybody know, please continue to use the bottled water. I had
Yeah.
your results back, and Jim obviously supported that position.
Mhm.
So,
So anyways, we're still talking about COM 97. So I just think, John, we should be thinking about it a little bit if you want to do some homework or some research or talk to somebody, and or maybe you have a good idea already, but I feel like, and I guess there's a balance point too, if maybe the 40,000 yard option where we bring in significant dollars to help offset it, but it's not so much of an eyesore or something like that. But to
Yeah.
be honest, if this thing, and I believe it would be, if this thing is mowed and looks presentable forever, right? Or at least as long as we own it for the next, 30 years? Is this as long
you
as
have
this
to
board?
monitor it for 30 years.
So we know that under DEP regulations, we have to mow this thing for the next 30 years,
You
right?
have to mow it, you have to maintain it, you have to make sure there's no trees growing on top, you have to make sure the
50 years.
stormwater controls are doing good.
50?
It could be next to 50 unless they get 10, how many, is it 5 consecutive years before after 30 years?
Yeah, there's 5. You have to
There's some
meet this.
formula, but we also have to think, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
is the financial aspects of, we have to go to FinCom to borrow the money. They have not borrowed the money yet. They've approved the borrowing, but we have to tell them when, and that's in the next 2 months. So we have to decide, as far as financial numbers, we've set it up at 2 million, and if you go a different direction, there could be more. So that's something that, in your decision, would be based on, what are they gonna allow you to borrow also?
Right. Yeah, but it sounds like the COM would not be an expense. That would be a money grab for the
Offset.
town.
Yeah.
So the real question, excuse me, is we're just working on the plans to go to DEP.
Mhm.
I would like to go to DEP with one proposed plan,
Yeah.
not 2. We could do approve, we have to. They need to review it, approve it, and then give us a timeline for getting it done.
Mhm.
So you're a little bit in the driver's seat as far as when it gets done.
Mm.
But we don't have to have it into them till the end of November, early December. It's kind of a long period of time. They got a pretty long review period. So we're not even gonna have a approval till sometime early next spring, which probably we might miss that construction season. So
Mhm.
it might not even start until the following season. We don't know how that all comes to play with funding, approvals. There's a lot going, a lot of moving parts. We obviously need to go back to Concom to get approval.
I'm not gonna lie, I mean, this board, the 3 of us, are in a hot seat right now because we would probably owe it to the taxpayers to save as much money, not spend as much money, and keep this cost as low as possible. We got a lot of other expenses and a lot of other town stuff going on, never mind just us with the capping, but there's schools, crazy stuff going on. So, I mean, we do have to kind of think about this because, yeah, I don't want those residents losing property values and those decreasing either. 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 houses, 20 houses, as opposed to 13,000 residents, 15,000 residents, whatever we have, I mean, we really need to look at this and be fair about it, John, because we might help those immediate houses right there, and that might be the right thing to do. And the rest of the town that pay taxes are gonna come at us with pitchforks and say, what are you doing? You know, I mean, it really is, to me, I gotta be honest with you, at this level, right, I'm saying, what's the environmental impact? What's the public health and safety? I don't really care about the dollars. If we could get this thing level and move on, that's what this board is about. It's not really about the dollars to do that, but we are all humans, we're all taxpayers ourselves, and we all look at the big picture. We don't overspend, but, so it's pretty big. It's something we really, as a board and as a group, and we ought to come up with the right answer for that, whatever it is.
If I may, Gary, you, at one point, this was many months ago, you had some artist renderings or something, I believe, of what it would look like with full comm material, and then medium amount, and then the lower amount. And I don't know, if you don't have those with you
I didn't bring it with me tonight
Okay.
because I didn't want to get to that level of detail, but we can get those, not necessarily an artist's rendering, but what they are is they've got a color coordination to them to show you the height.
They were good.
They help you
Yeah.
understand it.
Yes.
And we can,
So let's,
I can email those to all you guys so you have them.
no, let's do this. Now, correct me, but let's table this part of the discussion for the comm until we have our third member. Let's get Bruce in here if he's available. Bring the you know, the visuals at that time, and let's pick it up from there. In the meantime, John, you can think about it, I can think about it. We can maybe try to reach out to those families that are directly impacted and maybe get them to the meeting and see what they say, and either tell them we have a financial obligation to the town, or we're gonna, you know, shine up the Flint Road, or whatever the answer may be, but let's all talk about it. I wouldn't ever wanna do it behind anybody's back, that's for sure. So, I think that's the move. I say we table this part of that discussion and we move on. You okay with that?
Yeah, and along those lines, it sounds like we do have a deadline, obviously, to get this done. If you and Catherine are available in 3 weeks, no more, and you, Gary, we should get in here, get it discussed, and hopefully get a vote and get a determination
24.
that
Let's do it in
that
2 weeks.
night.
Wanna go 2 weeks?
2 weeks, I'm fine.
Let's tentative go 2 weeks for our next meeting to see if we can make something happen.
17th.
I'm gone the week of the 23rd.
That's all right.
But
That's all right.
Catherine.
2 weeks is the 17th.
I think Catherine, if you mind, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna check. Catherine told me the date she's available.
Okay?
Can I look?
Right.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
2 weeks is the 17th.
17th is good. That gives us 2 weeks to let everybody know the best we can. Something happens, we have to bump it a week, then that still gives us the 24th.
I'm good with either.
I think we should be penciling in the 17th.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
even if Catherine can't make it, maybe we can get her on a teleconference
Yeah.
or introduce her to a Zoom meeting or something.
As long as she's not halfway around the world.
Well,
with
if
us.
she's in a helicopter hanging off doing something, we'll have to call her back. But. So, Gary, you okay if we move on from?
I am. All right, so I'm good for both of those. All right, so moving on. PFAS testing and all the other testing we're doing. Prior to PFAS, we were able to reduce a lot of the 1,4-dioxin testing from quarterly back to semi-annual and annual for a whole bunch of houses. If you want.
Excuse me, Catherine is not available on the 17th. She's available on the 24th, the 31st, or 11/7.
11/7 would be over a month, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's gonna be too much.
And just, those are just the dates she gave.
31st is Halloween.
so 24th?
She's available the 24th?
She is.
Yes. I'm good with that.
All right, we cutting it close, or we all right?
The other option is, I don't know Bruce's availability, leave them both open right now. I'll
Okay.
get back to you guys, I'll reach out to Bruce tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well,
Let's,
the point is having Catherine here, she's not available on the 17th though.
Yeah, okay. Then if Bruce isn't here, I can handle it, I'll just get the information from Bruce.
all right,
I'm
or
available,
can we
Catherine.
get Catherine on a phone conference?
I'd call her now, but she's in Abu Dhabi, so on her way back.
Where's that? Never mind.
United Arab Emirates.
Yeah.
Is that
Their
Dubai?
wealth comes from pumping crude oil out of the ground, I think.
So let's do this. Let's see if we can get Bruce Haskell here for the 24th.
Okay.
And if we can, Gary, if you can be here, then that would be the right date. And if not, what do we do? The 24th with Catherine, or the 17th with Bruce, if we can get on a conference call?
Totally, I can find out from her when I think tomorrow she'll be back. I'd send her an email if you'd like to see if she's available, and you tentatively like to have a meeting on the 17th or 24th? But she said
24th would be the first option, I guess.
24th, yeah,
If she's available for that, that would be the
Yeah.
first option.
Yeah.
okay. She says she is available for that.
All right, now we gotta see if we can get Bruce here. I would really like to, not that you couldn't relay
No,
the
I want Bruce
message,
here.
but I would really like to have Bruce here.
Is that a 6 PM?
Yeah,
Yes.
so let's go with this, let's go with the 24th, Plan A, Plan B, maybe the 17th with a conference call if we can get her.
Although I will be out that week, but I'll have Kim here in my stead,
Yeah, okay.
okay?
And, yeah, and Jim, I mean, this meeting will be specifically for this reason, so.
I've been through this quite a bit, so it's up to you guys. The pressure on you, I'm just here.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, it's not like we gotta do a full health report anyways,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
So, in determining the next meeting, John, well, we'll talk about it later, because I think one of the things is the
Yes, I saw that.
reorganize.
Yep.
So actually, you'll be the one that sets the meeting up. If that plays out, then you'll be the one that sets the meeting up. I'm available either one.
Mhm, and
So
me.
if
Okay.
it comes out and then they get the green light to do it on the 24th, book the meeting, I'm good with it.
Okay.
If it comes out on the 17th, book it, I'm good with it. So whatever you say, I'm good with it.
All right.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so the other two issues are the testing we're doing. As I said, we were able to reduce a lot of the 1,4-dioxin testing, the VOC testing associated with 54 Flint Road to from quarterly to semi-annual and annual. This quarter happens to be one of the ones that we're doing a bunch of that, as well as the PFAS testing we are doing quarterly, because we have to do all these homes quarterly. So, as Linda did say, I'm on the second batch. We're in the second round here, second quarter of a bunch of homes. I don't have all the data in, but I've sampled probably 15 of them the second time around. I've only gotten a few samples back. Generally, they're the same. I don't want to downplay 13 versus
no,
19,
I gotcha, yeah.
but some that had J detections before have a J detection now. Some that had a 2.6 are at a 2.8 or a 3.1. So they're generally nothing dramatic is changing. The sampling's going smooth. The residents have been great. They're all allowing me access. Everything's good from that aspect. A lot more efficient. Able to schedule things. We were able to do 4 the other day in a 3-hour period instead of first time running around trying to get everybody. The one new bit of information since the last meeting is 151 Burlingame Road did come back above 20. Came back at 21.6, triggering notification to DEP of a new condition, which I spoke to DEP about after speaking with Jim to get authority to talk to DEP. We already have a tracking number, but the tracking number we had was for what we call a 72-hour condition. That triggered what's called a 2-hour condition. So we spoke with DEP, met the obligation of the board and the LSP for you guys, that's done. And didn't change anything, no new tracking numbers, anything, just basically following protocol. DEP did mandate, which we already knew, it was clearly documented, that homes over 20 required treatment system, parts per trillion. So I reached out to the homeowners. They live there part of the time. They have another place in, I want to say, Vermont. They're only there a couple days a week, if that. I was able to get an appointment with them last Friday to do an inspection of their home, because I hadn't actually been in their home the first time because they were away. They let me sample from the outside tap. So I got in their house, figured things out. I'm getting quotes for the treatment systems. I have one quote. I don't have the second one. I'll have it tomorrow. Based on the two quotes, I'm going to select one of the contractors, and we'll have the system installed in the next couple of weeks. The homeowners at 51 have been fantastic at 151. They're both retired, and they actually have experience in this. They were toxicologists and chemists for
Oh,
UMass.
really?
So we were speaking about the same language, which was helpful for me.
Carry on, I can hear you.
So that went smooth. We're going to install that system in a couple of weeks. Once that system's installed, we're just going to continue doing testing. DEP was very clear with us that that detection did trigger a new 500-foot radius. So the whole second thing that we're talking about here is we've tried to slow down this 500-foot radius every time we get a detection. We've talked to DEP about that. We're doing an analysis and the analysis is showing that a lot of the homes on Dresser Hill Road specifically have really only had one contaminant detected, whereas the landfill has a whole bunch of these PFAS contaminants. And some of the homes on Burlingame Road and some of the homes on Flint Road and Old Town have had 3 or 4 of those, so that there's somewhat of a fingerprint that could be argued it's tied to the landfill, whereas when the homes that just have the one, it might not be tied to the landfill. We do absolutely unequivocally do not have enough data to make a solid argument on that now. We were going down a road and we had some pretty good data, but this 151 kind of threw us for a loop, and then another house over on Burlingame had a bunch of the similar detections, so the fingerprint is kind of, what I'll say, following the landfill fingerprint more than just the one sporadic detection. So we're diligently working at that to try to make a technical argument to DEP that where there's a concern, the 500-foot radius expands. Where there isn't a concern or where it's not directly connected, we want to slow down that 500-foot radius because we could be sampling the entire town. Because of what we're finding is no detections, and then you find a PFOA at 2.3. So now I got to do a 500-foot radius, and I get no detection at the next house, no detection at the next house, and then I get 3.1. So we've talked to DP, we're making that argument.
Yeah, and I might have missed it, but from the 151 house,
Yes.
you did the 500 foot. Have those results come back?
No.
Okay.
We haven't even gotten in contact with all of those yet.
Okay.
We're sending, the letters should go out this week. We've tried to make a couple of calls. It's difficult, obviously, to get numbers and calls. So what we do is send a letter out. We've been doing the same thing. We drop the letters off by hand.
Mhm.
So that's all in the works.
Yep. I get it.
I just did 2 right proximal to there 3 days ago. So we've got some of them done, but not all of them.
No results.
No results.
Okay.
So that's essentially the summary I have for you guys. I'll let you ask any questions because
Yeah,
a
so
lot of information.
we talked about, I think we had a conference call, the 3 of us with Andrew. We talked about that filtration system. So when we get the right contractor that makes the most sense for that, do you need us to vote? Is that money allocated? Is that's just gonna happen and you're gonna say, hey, we installed that system?
Yep. Andrew said, given our, just deal with it under our contract.
Mhm.
I'm gonna select the contractor that is the best price and the best system for the town.
So
I
just-
worked with both of them, so, like I said, I'm waiting on one more quote today.
So John, just so you know, we had a call, it was a conference about that when we were in that 2-hour, that time frame. It actually kicked out to the next morning, but we had a conference call, Jim, Gary, myself, and Andrew. And basically Gary brought us all up to speed, what happened, what he did, the protocol. He just summarized it to us now. But we did talk in depth about this filtration system, what was the best bang for the buck, which one we were gonna do, what happens if there's 10 or 100 more coming behind it. So we talked about all of those things, and basically, in the end, we're leaving it up to Gary. He's had 2 contractors that he's worked with for a number of years. One company was a little bit more computerized, and it was just a little bit smoother transition as far as filters are due to be changed and some of the daily stuff that happens with that. So if the dollar value was the same or very, very close, I think that was the company you were gonna try and go with, right?
Yeah, we're gonna see kind of what happens. I've worked with both these companies, and they've installed systems for Mass DEP on sites with PFAS. So both of these companies have worked for DEP and installed these exact systems. These are double systems, so it's gonna come in, it's gonna go through a carbon filter, it's gonna come in, gonna go through pre-filter, gonna go through a carbon filter, gonna go through another carbon filter, gonna go through a post-filter, and then gonna go through what's called a UV disinfection light. So the systems are identical, the carbon is essentially identical, it's just different vendors. So, again, worked with both of them, very comfortable with them. We'll get it going for you.
Cost on these is 10 to 15,000 roughly?
It's a little less than that, but by the time the installation cost is one thing, but the sampling immediately thereafter. So now we have to collect 3 samples per location. You have to collect a raw sample before it's in, one in the middle of the filter and one after it's treated. So now, rather than $350 per sample, it's now $1,050 at that house because you're doing 3 samples. So all these numbers kind of come into play, but it's under 10 grand for the system.
Okay.
And I don't want to give you the number now because I have one and I don't have the other one.
Yeah, that's
Fair
all right.
enough.
No, yeah, that's.
And I want fairness in getting best price for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can share that with you next time once I have the information.
Fair enough.
That's essentially all I have for you guys. But I'm here for questions or for questions.
Okay, Jim, do you have any comments on any of this?
No, just letting the board know that when Gary calls now, we do have a storage of water available at the DPW. And Nick Peel, the new director there, DPW superintendent, has allowed us, he gave me a key, and I can get in there on a Saturday or a Sunday if Gary called. So I can immediately go and access water without me having to pay for it and get it delivered quickly. So I want to thank Nick for doing that. So I do have access because we're obligated, and we're not going to get Ready Fresh to get there the next day or whatever. So, and we're obligated to provide the water, which we've been doing.
Yeah.
We also bought some of the hand pumps that go on the top. Some people don't like all the plastic bottles, so the jugs, so you can press a button and you can pour water into 1 gallon jugs, which makes it more efficient. You don't have all these small bottles. So we just tried them on 9. We delivered one to 9 Old Town Road today because it's too heavy for some of the people to pick up. They're quite heavy to take and flip. We don't want anyone getting hurt because we
Right.
delivered water to them. So,
Dumping it all over the
Brutal.
house.
It makes a mess. I
Oh,
can't.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
So-
can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
yeah, it's heavy. But people don't realize you don't have to take the white cap off. Just take the plastic piece off and flip it. But they try and take the white cap, so now it's wide open. And
Oh, that's how I always did it. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
it's got a plunger in there.
It's got
Oh,
a
it does.
Just pull the little thing off and hold it right upside down for
No,
3
it took me
hours.
2 years to figure out
Yes,
it didn't need.
But it's
I
heavy.
think which the Poland Springs, I think, has, one of them has the thing, but the other one doesn't. I forget which one it is, cause now we're not getting Poland Springs anymore, we're getting all of the other one, Pure whatever.
Pure Life?
Yeah, Pure Life, I think it is.
Sounds right.
But I looked it up. Yeah, I know, we did, and then all of a sudden it's all Pure Life again. There's another trick. If you take, when you're turning those on, take a piece of saran wrap, you take the cover right off, put the saran wrap on, wrap an elastic around it really tight. You put a tiny pinhole in the top, and then you flip it. At least it helps to keep water from going everywhere. You just gotta pull the little piece of saran off, the little pointed top in the cooler when you're done, but that buys you a little bit of less wet.
We'll make sure you get in Poland Springs because It's safer with the cap, it's sealed, you don't have to open it, contaminate your water.
Right.
Now you're filtering it through plastic also, which probably don't recommend, so.
Gary,
Yes.
you said that you were done. Was that the PFAS conversation? Is there more, or were you done on that segment?
I'm done with everything. Oh, no, I have two more quick things for you. Real
Okay,
quick.
sure.
Mowing,
Mm-hmm.
I've
Yes.
reached out to Bruce a couple times. It's ungodly wet. He's mowed some of the flat surfaces. He's tried 3 times to mow the slopes. The mower slides off. I said, stop, because I don't want to, the grass is actually, you guys mow your lawn and the grass moves.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't want, I told him, I don't care if it even doesn't get mowed and we mow it when it stops growing in November.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's gonna try to get there, he's going there again this week to try again, but he's a very good contractor, he hired somebody good, he's not gonna damage the cap.
Right.
He's gonna get it mowed, he's not gonna damage the cap. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, Q4 2023, we have to sample the landfill again. And you are obligated to do the PFAS testing, so that will happen, probably in November, because we did it in May last time, so 6 months off. So that's all I have. Both landfills will be sampled. That is all I have on all the landfill stuff for you guys.
Okay, so I want to reach out to you, and do you have any comments or anything you want to discuss as far as the landfill, or are you here for the landfill or a different reason?
They're for trash.
For trash. Okay.
No, I think that, obviously, we hope for the safest solution. That COM 97, you said it's a fairly natural,
It is considered,
Acceptable.
it is contaminated material.
which alarms me.
Well, it is
A little bit.
contaminated. It's generally speaking, it's way less contaminated that's already in the landfill.
Right, right. You don't need to add to.
And not to say that because your neighbor does it, you can do it, but, and Bruce Haskell can speak to this better than I can. I think a high majority of the landfills have taken this material in because you need to build, it doesn't make a lot of sense to haul in virgin material
Right.
to bury it under a landfill to make it work. That's crazy.
Put a cap on it.
Right, so it's approved by DEP, it's done at, I think, every landfill that's being capped. I don't wanna use the word every, but almost every one. And again, Bruce is the expert in that aspect of designing those and putting those in, and how a very good question, does it create a bigger problem with the weight and everything?
Weight, right.
But we'll leave it at that. It is considered contaminated material, but DEP has to, DEP doesn't have to approve every bit of it.
Is it
There's a
tested?
criteria.
Is that material tested?
Oh my God, is that material tested? So every 500 yards, it's about a very detailed test. It's about
Okay.
$1,500 test every 500 yards.
So I mean, at least they know in advance that it's what the
Oh,
contaminants.
so if 12 Smith Street in some town has a contaminated problem, they'll have to test all that material. And if they want to bring 500 yards in, they're going to have to do 10 tests. Their LSP is going to write a report that says, we believe this meets COM 97. Your LSP is going to review that report and say, I agree or disagree with you.
Okay.
And if they disagree with them, that LSP needs to go back and get more data and come back, or we've done those and we've said, no, it's not coming here.
Right.
It doesn't meet the criteria, we're not taking
That's
it.
good. Yeah, like I said.
So it's extensively tested.
Looking for the safest, obviously.
We feel in 90, and it was a little bit before my time, so I'm probably speaking way out of line, but how I understood it was, we were taking in that material, but somebody left the gate open and everybody was coming in,
Okay.
Sundays, nights,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and who knows what was getting brought in. And as the board at that time, you don't know what you don't know,
That's
so
right.
it wasn't like they were on board with it either. They didn't know. We kind of, learned the lesson the hard way on that. That's my understanding of what happened there. But that's why I'm saying, like, if we're gonna open the gate this time, we want to make sure the gate's locked at 5 o'clock and we all know what's going in there. And I feel we would do it,
Yeah,
Hey,
the
I'll walk down the street and lock it.
We'll have- we'll have- the protocol have
No
cameras.
problem.
protocols are different nowadays, and you'll have a good contractor. Yeah, it's a little bit more oversight than back then.
so a
I
lot
mean,
more oversight.
you
A
know,
lot
the-
more oversight, yeah.
The end goal, and I know there's not a lot of people here, there's nobody here that's concerned about the water. To me, the end goal is the safety, the least amount of cost per taxpayer, and to maintain the property values because obviously this degrades the property values. That would be the hopeful end
And-
goal.
Linda, I agree, and that's what I ask, like, right, we don't wanna PFAS, the 1,4-dioxane, the chemicals,
Right.
all of that may, right, reduce the property values. But that ship has sailed, we can't undo that. And
Right,
PFAS
that's right.
is not exclusive to Charlton, it is in
It's everywhere.
Massachusetts, it's
Mhm.
everywhere. My concern is, are we reducing property values by capping it this high, or this high, or this high, or this high? Does that make a financial difference to those residents, was my question that I was trying to get an understanding
Got
on.
it.
So, but the water, you know, Charlton has a hard go with water. It's either great or it's not, yeah. So, all right, well, I guess if there's no other questions on the landfill, Gary, as always, you're welcome to stay. If you gotta hit the road, thank you for your time. You can stay, you can leave, whatever you need to do.
I'll leave if you don't need me.
Nope.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you.
I look forward to that next meeting.
Okay,
Okay, 24th, right?
it's gonna be penciled in the 24th.
Okay, and Jim will get back to you with Catherine's, and I'm gonna get back to you guys with Bruce's availability.
I think Plan B is gonna be the 17th, if it means getting Bruce here or not getting Bruce
Yeah,
here.
right.
I'll let you guys know hopefully tomorrow.
Yep, thank you,
Thank
Gary.
you.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay, so next on the agenda is gonna be the department head reports.
And notice Jim just magically disappeared.
Jim has scooted out, so, John, have you seen, while we're
Yes.
in a break, have you seen this?
Yep, I did. I got a little bit of background information and briefly went through.
So Jim, we're on you, for the department head reports, if you'd like to.
Did you want to address,
Sure.
their concerns before I
sure.
go? I don't
So
have-
what we would do is, we have, are you residents of Charlton? Yeah, so we have some residents of Charlton, and under other business unknown at the time of posting, if you'd like to, you're welcome to come up here, you can stay back there. I don't know if they got into the sign-in sheet.
Yes.
They did.
Yeah, so if you want to say your name and tell us why you're here, go for it.
Peter Douglas is my name. We live at 17 South Sturbridge Road,
Okay.
and Joyce Panzik. We just wanted to inquire if there was any updates on the trash contract with Costella, possible extension of that, or maybe another type of program in place of it, if there was any information about that.
So, are you talking about the everyday or weekly trash pickup, or like household hazardous trash, or
No, sir.
all of it?
I think it had something to do with that landfill.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 5-year, because we used to take trash up there
Mhm.
before they switched it. We go over to the transfer station now,
Yes.
North Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
So that's once a week on Saturday
Mhm.
that we go. So that is the part of the contract we were inquiring about.
Yeah, so, our understanding, and I know, Jim, you know it way better than me, but I'm gonna go for it. So, we did have an agreement with Casella. I think originally it was supposed to last till 2026 off the beginning. It was supposed to last 2028.
Yeah.
Supposed to last a lot longer than it did. Casella got full capacity, thank you very much. Casella got, to full capacity, they shut it down. That shut down all of our original agreement that happened from the select board, town administrator, all that. This board really didn't have much say in that. But we were aware of this transfer station. We actually, we give out vouchers to the residents for, was it $30?
30.
Yeah, $30.
25 pounds for half a
And,
trunk.
and they're specifically bringing it to the transfer station that you're talking about. We know the program is coming to an end. We discussed this in pretty good detail, I would say maybe 2 meetings ago, if not last meeting. And we don't, at this time, have an understanding of what's gonna happen. There was talk about who the trash hauler was going to be for the town, the schools, and all the different entities that Casella made a deal with the town. And it was really over dollars and money being spent from the town, which really wasn't under the Board of Health's control. We say, I don't care who picks up the trash, but someone needs to pick up the trash. And the select board, town administrator are the ones that basically hold the purse strings and say, listen, we're gonna go with this contract or this contract or this contract. My understanding is they did move forward with a contractor. I think it was Casella, but I'm not sure
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
Does that sound right, Jim?
For municipal buildings is Casella.
But we don't know what is gonna happen with the household hazardous, or not the household hazardous, but the drop-off. We were talking about coupons, we were talking about, people that don't really generate a lot of trash, and it's, very convenient for them to go up there on a Saturday and throw away one bag or two bags, and it works well, and now that's gonna go away. I do know that the second half of that story was the ability to do that and the ability to go to that transfer station and get rid of a bag or two bags was a privilege, and it was something that was negotiated years ago, and that era is coming to an end. And we talked specifically about that, said these people that go there every Saturday, it's gonna feel like we're taking something away from them right now. And it's really not what's happening. It was really more on the, it was good while it lasted, more than we're taking something away. But that was just talking about it. I don't know what's gonna happen there, but I do know that it's being looked at. But Jim, if you want, or John, if you wanna chime in.
I was just gonna add, I think that, and I don't know how long it's been, but the deal with Casella dropping trash off at the Oxford transfer station on Route 56 up by the Leicester border, that is done by December, I believe. And then so for Charlton residents, you're not gonna be able to drop off your bags of trash and recycling there after November, right?
Well, it's supposed to be, if I may, Mr. Chairman, November 24th, I
Yeah.
believe, is the end of the contract. John Degnan, who Andrea's been back and forth with, said he might extend it to the 31st of December. But remember, everyone, this is like you said, this was a privilege for a while because of the landfill and the inconvenience and the spill. But most people either pay taxes for their trash pickup or have to pay for someone to pick it up at your house. This was a benefit above and beyond, and while it lasted, it was great, but it's coming to an end, like, because the contract will be done, and you're not gonna be able to dump for free.
Right. So I wanna also say, Andrea just brought me
Yeah.
the contract, and she has it highlighted for me, and this was, I don't know how long this goes back, but this, I don't see the date on it when it
To
was
Robin before she left.
agreed. But anyways, it just talks about the collection agreement. It says, for a period of 5 years from the closing date, which was November 24th, 2018, but no later than December 31st, 2027, Casella shall continue to collect all municipal waste and provide that program. So that was the meat and potatoes of how we got it to go this long. And I think Household Hazardous Waste Day that we have 4 times a year is also falls under this.
Yes.
And that's done, because I
That's
did go up there on Saturday and took a box of chemicals and so forth that I was grateful to get rid of, because Casella took it, but they had signs, multiple signs. This, Charlton residents, attention, this is the last hazardous household pickup or drop off.
So maybe you guys can refresh my memory, because I really don't remember where we left off. But we did talk about what can we do for these residents that have one bag or two bags. We actually talked about, man, wish we could, buy a bag so you pay $3 for a bag or $10 for a bag, whatever the dollar is for the bag, and then you're able to bring it to them and drop it off. So if you're only producing one bag or two bags, maybe that makes the most sense for your disposal program, you know? We talked about that,
I like that idea because even, my kids have grown and gone, so just my wife and me. And I have weekly trash pickup with a big bin, but I go to pull it to the curb and it's $13 and something cents a week. And I'll look in the trash and there's like 3 small little 13-gallon bags. And then I drive up through East Brookfield and trash day, they've got these blue, bright blue, like that, blue out by the curb. And they buy these for, I don't know what it is, $3 a bag or something. And they fill it, put it out by the curb in the town, or somebody comes and picks it up. And boy, wouldn't that be sweet? Even if Casella would agree to something like that for
Yeah.
Charlton residents, you know, a bright blue bag that says Charlton on it or something, and $3, $4 a bag. Because believe me, I know if you're spending $600-700 a year for trash pickup, and it's just you or you know, small family, and you're producing, you're like, my gosh, it's an awful expense for you know, 20 pounds of trash.
yeah.
It gets to be expensive.
So we talked about that. We talked about having a dumpster somewhere if they put them in, you know, if there was a spot where there was dumpsters. We talked about if Southbridge had them or not, but we never came up with a solution to it. But we did discuss it, and this board really has no say in any of that. So that is really from the people holding the purse strings and the ones that, you know, the select board or town administrator may have more insight to it. Like I say, we don't care where the trash goes, we just want it to be disposed of legally and properly. So, no, we don't know.
Okay, so as it stands now, the 24th of November and possibly extended to the end of December on
Yeah,
the
we'll
current.
post it, once we find out from Mr. John Degnan, if it's really December 31st or is it November 28th or whatever, then we would make sure it's posted and people realize, but you can always go to Auburn, I believe you can pay to throw there no matter what. So it defeats the purpose when you can pick it up curbside. Like I've had my trash for free for a long time picked up by Casella. That ends and I'm now responsible for either being taxed $45 a month or paying someone to pick it up. You have to do either one or. So it's affecting a lot of people.
I asked them at the scale house, and they said it was $150 a ton. Well, a ton's a lot of trash to
Yeah.
accumulate for, you know.
So it's $150 a ton.
Right.
And there is a minimum on there, but I think the minimum is still $50, $75. You'd be hard pressed to fill a pickup truck to the roof and go in there and even come up with that.
Yeah.
That $150 a ton is not meant for the single resident. That's meant for the collectors that come in there with, 30 or 40 households of trash in the back of their truck and they're tipping it, or the team that have the dumpsters and they're doing that. That's what that is, for residents to go and,
I don't know if they accept single residents.
I'm not aware that they do. I used to dabble in the trash business a little bit several years ago, and there was never residents there. It was
Right.
always commercial haulers going in there with dumpsters and, trash trucks and things like that. There was never nobody showing up and popping their trunk and getting rid of a couple of bags.
I think that's why they said $150 a ton. And they also said you could bring a single item like a computer. Well, that's considered kind of hazardous. A computer or electronics for $25 for each item. You can go there and
Right.
dispose of that type of.
And that, they don't care if you're from
Right.
Timbuktu.
Right.
Hand them some cash and they'll say, put it right there, yeah.
We call those penalty items. There's a long list of them. It's
Oh,
your white goods, it's the tires, it's the mattresses, it's the microwaves, the computers, it's the Freon products. One of the big no-nos now is gypsum products. So if you're building a new house and you have leftover sheetrock, you just can't throw it in a dumpster and bring it to them. They're gonna tell you no and take it back. And you say, what do you do with it? And they say, that's your problem. I mean, it's, you really, and it's a good thing, but they've come a long way as far as what they're accepting and what they're doing with it. But to answer your direct question about what's gonna happen to this Saturday program, I don't know. Yeah.
So we'll just stay tuned.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I mean, we had like the bag program, that buy a bag or a couple of bags. I think they do that with leaves sometimes, or different towns do different programs.
You can go buy leaf bags and
Leaf
then
bags
you
and-
can drop them off. We have it listed at the DPW. There's gonna be a drop-off scheduled.
Yeah. But that's probably the best info we have is stay tuned, because we don't know. And it's not our decision anyways. We're certainly aware of it and we talk about it. We have a recycling committee that comes in and they talk about the different things, and that always comes up, and, you know, but, yeah, we don't know.
Okay. I had one other question, non-related, and I don't even know if it comes under your jurisdiction, but I know that Charlton was exploring an alternative water source. I think they were drilling out near Buffum's, and there was an engineering company that was doing that, and we never heard any more about it. The last we heard, they were having trouble getting enough flow volume, and I just wondered if you knew if that was still going on?
All right, so that's a water and sewer department question.
Oh, okay.
It has nothing to do with this board. So, off the record, unofficial, I don't know what I'm talking about, but how I understood it, and this, I'm not understanding this as the board, I'm understanding this as a resident. They had a program in place where they were actually gonna build the access road to get to the water. They tested the water, they found the water, everything was gonna be a green light. They put a bid package out to build this road. It had to be paved, it had to meet certain criteria. But they were also gonna reduce the height of the topography. That was gonna come down almost 25 feet in spots, maybe more, 40 feet. It was a big number. It was a lot of material coming up. I forget what the volume was, 50,000 yards, 100,000 yards. It was a large number of material. Pure gravel. They did all the borings on that, and all of the material in the ground was great gravel. So they thought, maybe wishful thinking, maybe there was some, reason why they were thinking that, but it was the thought that that gravel, that product under the ground would significantly reduce the cost to even build the road to get there. And they went out to bid on this road, and the bids came back. I think the cheapest bid was $1.something million. I mean, and they were like hoping somebody was gonna say, hey, we'll buy the gravel off you and put the roads in. And I think that the expense of the project to what the bids came in to make that happen was so far off that at a minimum, they had to put that project on hold for a while to either regroup, get funds, or do something. But I do know it went out to bid. I do know that the cost was way, way, way above what anybody on that board expected, probably including the engineers that said, let's talk about the gravel in there. And I think that might have been what put the brakes on that project. I don't know if it's indefinitely or just tabled until because they were gonna line bore right underneath Buffinville Dam, and they had some discussion. I think the town bought some property over there. They were serious about doing it, and I think they got hit with a shock and awe dollar value on that from the contractors.
The access road.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like they did develop a water source. I mean, they do have a water source that
Mhm.
would work. It's
I-
just,
I think there's, I don't even wanna say 3, 5, 7 wells up there. I know it's in multiple locations and
Right.
I think they found the water that they were looking for or,
that's similar to Oxford system, they had wells.
mhm. Yeah, so that's my understanding, off the record,
Off the record, appreciate it.
but that's what I heard.
Well, maybe in the future, something will develop.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, we thank you for your time,
Yep.
and that concludes questions that we've had. It's nice to meet you all.
Okay, yeah, you as well, anytime, thank you.
Thanks for attending.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay,
Y'all have a good night.
You too,
You
thank
also.
you.
okay, Jim, if you want to pick up on the department head reports, that would be excellent.
One major thing is, an update on, Andrew had formed, had called for a meeting, Andrew Golas, town administrator, for the, with the Attorney General, Assistant Attorney General. She represents the Office of the Attorney General. And I think this may be something that the board should look over, and maybe, Andrew can come at the next meeting also with Catherine here. And it basically, it is an urban, a neighborhood renewal division. What they do is, with the assistance of the state, under Chapter 111, which governs local boards, they would identify, which I think I gave you a list of, Kathy Stanley identified along with myself, the fire department, and the building commissioner, properties that are either distressed or abandoned. That means left there for 1 or 2 years, and have issues like the box factory, but they don't want to deal with commercial buildings, but that's one that's been identified. And you can also look at all the other ones that are there down the list. These are properties, the ones that have habitation in them, I've told them to take them, they should take them off the list, and I would deal directly with them as we have in the past. They don't want to deal with them anyway if they're being habitated. We're talking about buildings with big holes in the roof that have been abandoned, that are blight to the town, and that they would bring back so they can have habitability.
Can I cut in right there?
Sure. Yep.
What determines abandoned?
No one has lived there for at least 1 to 2 years and identified as, it's pretty easy to look at the ones on Main Street, there's holes in the roof.
All right, so this 12 Sturbridge Road,
What is that?
the last one.
Last one.
Let's just use that for example. There's
That
a
one-
person living there.
Yeah, I've asked them, remember, this list is everyone added to it.
How about 96 Cranberry Meadow Shore Road?
It's been abandoned for at least 4 years.
It has.
The windows are open, it has an in-ground pool, it's a danger. It needs to be, it can be a beautiful home, but it has been left abandoned. Now, this may wake up the owner to do something.
Yep.
This was a program that a lot of towns have adopted, Southbridge being one of them.
I would be very interested in talking with this,
Mhm.
with whoever wants to talk about it, but I'm looking at names of people that are alive, still in this town, and are gonna bend over and freak out when we tell them that we're about to take their building and do something to it, and then, like,
No,
to me, this is crazy.
No, the first letter would be, the intent is that, the letter would go to them that, what are you doing with your abandoned property? You've left the windows open, there's a hole in the roof, you have not habitated there. It's just to bring property. Now, this also would maybe kickstart people to fix their properties. I know that a lot of the properties are abandoned for quite a while. Like one has a trailer that's been there, a camper, for probably 10 years, or maybe 15 since I've known it. And they haven't done anything on Main Street. So this is not a program that I brought up. This is a program
I know.
that Andrew brought us all into. There was some heated discussion between everybody, but
I can imagine, it feels like we're getting taken over.
and so what I said is, this is basically under the authority of the local Board of Health. So we can all talk about this, but this needs to come to my board, because if the state's gonna come in and use Chapter 111, they need authority from the local authority, which is the local board, to do anything. So I think this is something that Andrew was interested in. I don't think everyone was on board. Certainly, there was some discussion of who should be on here. We have to narrow it down to 5 vacant buildings that are definitely not habitated for the least 1 or 2 years.
What are we doing? Why do we have to do that? Because we're gonna get some funding or something?
No, we received no monies. What it is still, the court appoints a receivership contractor. That contractor is hired and monitored through the court. He then receives money to get going to fix it up to the state. He fixes it and gets all the proper permits. Once it's done, it's either, the person can get a loan to fix it, or it's sold and the money is paid to the town, paid to the contractor, and the remaining portion of the money is paid to the owner of the property.
If there's money left.
If there's money left over.
I'm looking at one that this board condemned, rightfully so. So now what? We're gonna take this house from them, build it up, and then sell it on them? I'm very interested in talking about this,
Mhm.
but I'm old school, Jim. You know that.
I
First
even said that.
instincts, I'm like, I don't even, what? Like, are you kidding me? But I'm willing to hear out the program, but I'm gonna be hard sell if I have to sign anything, because I don't think I would sign anything for any of this. I'm looking at this list of all these buildings. I know most of these buildings on here.
I do. I don't know them like you do, but I know there's some on here that I know of habitation, and I said don't belong on the list, but remember, everyone participated and added stuff to the list. The ones I added to the list were abandoned, 98 Cranberry Meadow Shore Road, abandoned. The one on Highland Road, abandoned, started to build it. The 2 on Dresser Hill, they started to build, the contractor left, and the town is left holding actually ownership of the property in lieu of taxes. So some of these are pretty easy because they are actually owned by the town of Charlton, because in lieu of taxes and leaving. But this is a program that I don't think it's for every municipality. Charlton's a little different than, say, a town of like Warren that had multiple properties that were abandoned and left, not even boarded up. But this was something that the Attorney General came, and when they started talking about Chapter 111, I said, whoa,
Yeah.
wait a minute. This is not, these people as a whole, we can all talk about it, certainly discuss it, but as far as approval, an elected board is governed by Chapter 111, and therefore the Board of Health is the only one that can approve going forward with this.
Let me ask you this, and I don't know,
Yep.
because it's never happened to me, so I don't know. But on the back page of this, it's talking about tax title or delinquency, right?
Yes.
So if you're delinquent, you get the D,
Yep.
and if it's tax title, there's a T. Okay?
And then R is receivership.
No.
Or residential, commercial, okay.
Yeah, that's a different category.
Not
But the
tax
one
title.
next to it.
Yep.
So D, delinquency.
Mhm.
By definition, what does that mean? They're behind in paying their taxes for like a quarter or a year, or is there a time frame?
I
I don't
would
know
be
either.
guessing, I'm not sure. I didn't ask her about it. She was gonna come in, Kathy, and explain what she meant by this, but it's past 7, so she
Yeah.
had to leave.
And then we have the T, tax title. To me, and I don't know, but it sounds like that's even worse. Like that's,
Mhm.
worse than being delinquent. But then we have a bunch where it's blank, right? There's no,
Yeah, there's
no.
nothing. So that means they're paid up on their taxes.
So they're paid up in their taxes.
I would assume, because there's nothing there.
Right, so we're gonna do what to these people that are paying their taxes? I don't understand.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I think, unfortunately, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, they do dictate how you maintain your property.
Mhm.
If you don't meet the minimum standards of fitness for human habitation, then it's the jurisdiction of the board to step in to say, hey, you can't have 15 cars, you can't be scrapping and destroying your property with spilt oil or antifreeze, and that happens, but I work with them to assist them to get back, but I certainly am not in favor of displacing someone, because there's a shortage of housing as it is, but I think their end goal is here is they would improve housing, improve value, But at the same time, you may be affecting someone's rights.
Here's a house right here, I won't say it, but
Yeah,
I know they're living in it. There's people living in that house,
Yep. I know what you're talking about, yep,
it's halfway down.
yep.
You know, I'm just looking at this list and I'm in shock and awe that this is coming across the desk.
Well-
John, you said you knew something about this, so let's hear what you have to say.
Before the meeting, Jim handed me the list and then this packet from the state. And so I was looking through this. But, you know, some of these houses, there's no rehabbing some of these. They're gonna have to, I would think, go in and bulldoze them because it would just be, if the roof is half caved in and it has been for 10 or 15 years, you can't save anything. It's,
No, and there's two on Main Street that the intent before COVID to build a business that would come down further, the two houses in question.
oh, this is up by CVS?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that is only maybe asking him, he's a big realtor, I know him, I just inspected one of his houses, very nice. I'm not gonna mention any names here, Matt, because this is
That's fine.
but I certainly think that he would be appalled to think that someone would take, because he's paid for it, and he bought this with the intent to improve it.
Well, not only that, I think that one was getting raised because he let the fire department go in there, cut the holes in and do training, which is great because that's usually a sign that they're gonna do a fresh start.
Exactly.
With that being said, I saw a young family in that parking lot this weekend mowing the lawn and looking like they may have bought the house. And I'm just driving by looking. I'm not saying that's
And
what
there's-
happened.
And there's been holes in the roof.
There's been holes
Yeah,
in the
they
roof
did
from the
train.
fire
Still are.
department. They
It is
trained.
so.
They were doing training.
They
Yeah.
did training.
No, I know, because I see that every
Which
time.
means it's gonna be a tear down.
It was slated to be a tear down, and then when I went by the other day and I saw a younger couple out mowing the lawn, I went, huh, I wonder what's happening here. Like, and maybe it's still gonna be a tear down.
Yeah,
I don't know. But
Could be.
I know what you're saying about that property, but some of these properties on this list,
Yeah.
no way.
Well, I did put the brakes on it to come to the board
Well, I
because
appreciate
they
you
were
doing that.
ready to make decisions that weren't theirs to make. So
Listen, until I learn more about it, at the bare maximum I would ever allow on this program, as long as I have my 2 cents to say on it, the only thing I would ever agree to this is if it was a program that the homeowners, the landowners wanted to do about it, a volunteer program. If the homeowner from this address said, yeah, that sounds like the best out for me, I'd have no problem with that. But to just, I can't even believe this list exists. I'm not even gonna lie about it, like, and I'm probably gonna go to some of these residents, and this is public record, right?
it was handed to me, so
I'd have to say it's public record. We're at a
Probably.
Board of Health meeting that's public.
I think it's preliminary. It's just a list of potential that we're discussing at the next meeting because I just expressed to Andrew that I really needed to come before the board. You can't
Is this
I think-
public record?
legally. We're discussing it with the board. Then
Probably.
If it's not,
Probably.
if it's not.
I don't know. I'm
we'd
not
be-
a lawyer, but I think it was given openly through an email, through my town email,
Mhm.
which is public record.
Yeah.
To answer that truthfully.
Truthfully, it's public record.
Yeah.
And I think if this was out, and I'm not putting you in the hot seat, Jim, so please don't think I am.
No, no.
No, I know where you're going with this, Matt, because I can see everybody's side, state, yours, Matt's, mine, whatever.
Yeah.
Because you'd want to give somebody the heads up. If you were good friends with somebody and you knew that they're not doing this on purpose and maybe they're just waiting for God knows what until they rehab the property, the last thing they want to do is get a certified letter, and this is going way beyond what would happen, but devil's advocate. They get a certified letter that says, hey, you've got 90 days to bring this up to code or give us a plan with surety bond or whatever, otherwise we as the state is gonna come in and take over your property or something like that. So, yeah, I understand.
I don't think it's as simple as that. I was a little uneasy about the whole thing. I know this exists in Southbridge, and it worked quite well for them. It worked quite well for Ware and a bunch of other communities. But I certainly think they don't have a strong Board of Health, and I don't like, and have never have liked, the board giving up its authority that I like to enforce. And I don't ride by and see someone with a distressed property and pull over and pull in their driveway and pick on them. If someone complains, then I act on a complaint, but I certainly know that there are some abandoned buildings that some people would, whether they're in receivership and the town owns them, would be a different story. They wouldn't need permission from the board, because then they could just go to auction and sell the property. But that's a different story.
Right.
This is actually using the authority given to the local Board of Health, issued back to the Commonwealth to supersede your authority on behalf of you, which is basically speaking for you, which when I do an inspection, I'm there on behalf of the board which I work for. Now, giving this to the state and now sitting at a letterhead, it's certainly going to be saying, these are our elected officials, and it's certainly going to be a shocker to some people. So I totally agree. That's why I put the kiboshes and said, you can't proceed forward with this without,
I appreciate you doing that.
you know, you got to stop. You can't. This is authority solely for the Board of Health. When they mentioned Chapter 111, I even had to quote it. I had it in the book. I said, that's a Board of Health authority. Not a building, not a town bylaw or anything. Strictly the Charlton Board of Health. Chapter 111 governs how boards of health work. And that they took a piece out that you would have to give them authority to act on your behalf, go to court at no cost to the municipality. They would appoint someone to actually go in and fix that house and bring it back up. But if you look at the money, and John looked at it, it's questionable that amount would even do anything.
$75,000 maximum, is that right?
That's what, yeah. And that could go to the homeowner to fix it himself if they're contrary. You know what I mean? It's not like, if you agreed that you're going to move forward, you could go to court and become the receivership. You just have to pay it back. So you either have to sell it, refinance the property after, or move forward on that. So it is a tough thing to swallow, and I think it's something that should not be arbitrarily agreed upon until all three board members together and you get a better understanding. And I think Andrew, who spoke to the Attorney General's office and brought this meeting up, which became a heated discussion between all of us. And I walked out saying, you can't do anything until the Board of Health has to look at it, and I'm not sure they would agree to it. So, and that's just sticking up for the board. I serve at the will of the board, but I'm not going to let someone take away the board's authority. I'm not going to let someone do anything that the board would not want to do. So,
You see this? This is the notes
Yes, yep.
that correspond with
Yes,
the
yeah, I got
property.
that, yeah.
And then,
and this was just given to me today, by the way. So,
I know.
Receiver can borrow up to $100,000 with up to 30% forgiven, otherwise can be up to 20% if not affordable housing. Yeah, so there's a lot of questions in here.
yeah, there's a lot to digest.
If this was a voluntary program for these people, I'm all for a voluntary program. A mandatory program, to me, I don't understand it whatsoever. And at this point, my percentage, I'm at 0% for this. 0.
I
So,
knew that, Matt, from the
know.
time they mentioned it in the meeting. And
yeah, but, hey, what do I know, right? I'm just one opinion. And I'm not saying I'm at 0 and slamming the door shut. I'm at 0, willing to learn more about the program.
as I'm not 100% for it, not in any way, shape, or form, because it's not my decision to make. It was brought that we attended a meeting and it was brought up, but I certainly I didn't facilitate the meeting.
There are many, many people on this list that are still alive. There's many residents that there's people living in those buildings. Anyways, what else you got for department head reports, Joe? Moving on.
You want to put this on the agenda for next next meeting, or the meeting after, or?
I don't need to talk about it. If
Okay.
it comes up, and John will be probably more than likely your agenda, so.
Can we wait till I get back so I could talk to Andrew? I don't think we should hurry on this anyway. I don't think it's something that the board should make a hasty decision on.
Right, right.
And let
Catherine
absorb
will-
some of this.
will get
Let me
the
just
same
ask
information.
one thing though, because I want to be clear on it.
Yep.
Calling this public record, who created the list?
Multiple.
Every building,
Mhm.
fire,
Mhm.
police participated.
Assessors?
Assessor, she goes out and evaluates the homes, so she knows a lot of homes. And I added the homes that I knew were vacant and abandoned for 2 years. I added 2.
Mhm.
Highland and the one on, you know which one, I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah.
Highland is a building, and Dresser Hill are 2 buildings that were abandoned by the contractors.
Yeah.
So they're buildings that, if they finish them, it's certainly, so those are something that you're not really affecting anyone. The builder just went belly up and took off.
But those are in D status, delinquent.
Yeah, they are.
So that might not be as severe as T status for a tax title. I don't know.
I don't know, I certainly don't pretend to know everything about this. I was a little taken back that the state even mentioned that why don't the Board of Health give the authority to the building commissioner to go in and make a determination on structural integrity. He's not a structural engineer, he's the building commissioner. I said, I do housing inspections for minimum standards, so I don't think the board needs to. So they immediately backed down, they said, no, we're gonna need permission, and I said, you better believe it. So I didn't get defensive, but I was a little defensive to think that they thought we were just arbitrarily gonna say, hey, go ahead, and that was, I had to put the stop to even thinking that this was something that the group that sat in there
Mhm.
had the authority to do that, which they didn't.
Right.
So I stopped it.
But now they know that they don't have the authority.
I told them in the meeting.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that.
I may have looked a little harsh, but I don't like when people try and step on the toes of the board and the authority. The authority of the board should not be given away arbitrarily without thought. And that's why I brought this. And it's not an easy thing, and it's, believe me, I'm all for whatever the board would decide, because it's not my decision. I think some, like abandoned buildings that are unfinished, are a different story than buildings that are occupied, and we know, and I know a lot of these people on here.
And I have a problem with this whole concept. If it's not a voluntary program, with any of these that are not delinquent in taxes, so if the people are paying their taxes,
I totally
I
understand.
feel like, you know, like what, you know, I didn't know the town was into the rehab business, you know what I mean? I'm just not understanding it all completely.
I
that's
think
all.
this is being pushed by the Attorney General's office through the governor, and like you said, it shows what towns are participating, but you can see there's probably a lot more that are not participating at this time. And I don't think it's for everybody, and certainly it's a big giveaway to give your authority away like that, because it reflects back upon the board. And myself, I'm in charge of doing inspections, and I respect people's property when I enter it. And I don't enter without permission.
You know, all people have different standards, different living.
People live,
You
they
know,
all live different ways, whether it's
we
right
all
or
live
wrong,
different
it's
ways.
probably not for us to decide.
And that's, I sit here and hum God Bless America, and I feel like doing it right now, so, just, anyways, moving on, Jim, what else do you have for, department head reports?
We had a flu clinic today. Just to update you, we had 38 people attend to get their flu shot. And thank Andrew and Kim and Mary and Cheryl for participating and helping out today. I ordered some COVID tests and from the federal government that were free, and I had to fill out a form.
Mhm.
And the form stated what's your population. I said around 15,000, which is a little high, but it's close.
Yeah.
And how many tests do you require? I said, just like 500, they're free. We have them because we're only down to the last 6, and we're getting a lot more cases. So
600?
six
Box,
cases.
6 little
6
kids.
cases.
Yeah.
Oh, 6.
So what did we get?
We're down to 6.
We got nine pallets of them coming on a tractor trailer on Thursday.
Wow.
And you can't stop them, they're already on the way.
They're already on the way. So I think if the board's okay with it, they'll offer to any other towns that would want them,
Yeah.
Oh,
that we
yes.
would, because there's no way in the world, I can't even, Gary's offered me to put them in his, he has a storage facility to put them in, that I would have to pay him $1,
Mhm.
so it doesn't look like he's getting anything for free.
Yeah.
And it isn't, it's just, doing the right thing for COVID, and store them in there until I can take my van and
Distribute them.
distribute them to municipalities that could use that.
How about where you get your water stash? Any room over there?
I pushed it with the water stash, and I think Mr. Peel would have, he's actually sending over guys to help me unload the truck because I was supposed to be, I have housing court and I have a meeting to be in, but which I'm gonna have to skip the meeting because I can't expect people to help me out and take off.
Mhm.
I'm not like that.
Right.
So Nick is sending over a couple guys to help me unload and get the test at least undercover in the van
Mhm.
and in a place. I will mention if he has a storage extra, we could put 3 or 4 of the pallets there. I'm not sure how big they are, but they seem to be big. I think she said she mistakenly got the number inverted from the 15 to the 5 and delivered those. I said, these are free, correct? I've even asked 4 times online. Yes, it's the federal government, but why they gave me so many, I don't.
How many do you think we're gonna get? Like 1,000, 5,000? Like how many is
I think 5,000 tests.
5,000 tests?
I don't know how many. If they're like this, the boxes are bigger, and there's 2. I think there's 96 tests in each one. Each, case.
How many are in here? 2 tests?
2
Yeah.
tests.
Is this box over the top enormous for 2 tests?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
And the other box is this big. But it's a more accurate test. It stays in there, and they feel that's what the federal government has.
Yeah. Maybe it's got more airspace that.
It's
does
like a
something.
stand setup when you put it, so it's kind of sterile. Not
Mhm.
sterile, but clean. And you have to leave the test strip in there.
Yeah, right here, John.
No, that's fine, I'll grab another one. I wanted to take that from you. I just
So,
wanted
but
to-
it's not costing us anything, it's certainly, and your shirts I'll pick up tomorrow that we ordered with the Charlton symbol and the coalition. They weren't ready, I tried to have them today, so.
You would think with the COVID test, instead of having 2 people hugging each other, they would be 6 feet apart.
No, new expiration date, disregard expiration date printed on the components.
Yeah, they're still good.
Oh,
It's, you disregard that, they've extended it, but these ones will be valid for quite a while. So that's what I was just trying to do, to make sure we always, because a lot of people still want to have tests. And I think paying $18 for a test for your family is absolutely ridiculous if I can get it for free.
Are these already expired?
No, they extended the date.
But it says new expiration date, disregard expiration date, printed on the components. That'd be inside, but the date on the outside.
They're
good.
They do whatever they feel like. Check them if you get a control line, they're still good. Use them.
Okay.
Matt, I threw out probably 30 cases.
No, I'm sure. I know. They were expired.
They were expired and they didn't work.
And you hate to waste, but at the same token, in this industry, right, there's certain things that have to happen, like the N95 masks. I mean, they expire for reasons. So there's gloves expire for reasons. There's certain things that have a shelf life, whether you use them or not, and you say, well, we just wasted all of that. But the flip side is, if you had an emergency and we needed them, we were very, very prepared for that. When COVID came, this office, this town was more prepared than many other towns around us. And at that time, we were assisting other towns
We were.
because we were prepared for that. So, it's like, you hate to waste and when you don't need something, but when you do need it, you need it, and when you can't get it, it's too late. So,
I have donated kits. They're to the homeless that displaced people that are in Sturbridge that you heard about, and in Sutton. They're just hygiene kits where people would have a toothbrush, bar soap, face cloth, and a razor, a comb, blankets if they need it.
fresh pair of socks.
We've given those to, yep. Because we are prepared. A few Saturdays ago, we spent the whole entire day going over all our inventorying everything, and it was 95 degrees. The CERT team and Terry were totally awesome. I stayed there all day with them, and even in that heat, and it's even hotter inside our trailers, to
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure we threw out a lot of stuff that was expired, made an accurate account, because Terry is no longer here. She moved to Alaska, and that's a big blow. She's very helpful to me. But we're still gonna, Charlton is very, very prepared as far as making sure we have enough supplies to keep going. But we have cots, we have blankets, we have a lot of stuff, and I want to know that that's thanks to Terry. I have a lot of stuff myself that I get, and any opportunity I can get to get more stuff, I take it. But it's all organized. You see how neat it is, and how well inventoried it is. But it took us all day. So if anyone from the CERT team is listening, thank you for your help. They're an awesome group of people in Charlton. Volunteers.
Terry's been, awesome for years and years. Ever since I've known her, all of the 15 years, I mean, it's been, there was one time we actually competed against Board of Health for this seat, and, it was, I didn't know you were going if you were running, and then it was like, and there was never any animosity, anything like that. She's always been stand up, and, I wish her the best in Alaska. I didn't know she was moving there.
Yeah, she retired and dropped off her stuff that we had, given to her, laptops and tablets and stuff, and she has moved to Alaska. It's a big loss, and I'll miss her.
Yeah.
She's a great person, and,
Yeah.
and we'll hopefully continue that. Working with the emergency management director, was the fire chief, and the new deputy chief, to make sure that we are fully stocked and ready and prepared to move forward if any disaster hits. So Charlton is well inventoried. So.
Yeah.
Especially now, 9 pallets of COVID.
What else you got, Jim? Anything else?
Sure. Just everyone continues to work well. Mary and Emily are working well in other towns, as well as in they're not in Charlton as much, because Emily's in school trying to get her education up to a level that meets the standards. Mary is working tirelessly. She works 60 hours a week. I had to tell her, don't do too much. I met her. She had a car full of socks, and you mentioned that. She
Number
had
one item.
Number one item: socks, underwear, and stuff. And I gave her a bunch of personal hygiene kits, to stuff to bring. I think it's the right thing to do. If someone's in need, I'm always one to help
Oh, yeah.
and give. So we always share.
Awesome.
So, and that's about all I have right now.
All right. Next item on the board was reorganize the board. Originally, our third member would have been the chair, and Peter took a different position, and it's never been protocol to let the newest member walk in as chair. So what happened this year is we decided that we would just between the next chair and I was the present chair, we were going to divvy up that 1 year's worth of time. In other words, I was the chair. I was going to extend my position as chair for another 6 months or so. John, you were going to be the next chair, and then if you start your session 6 months early, that seemed to be a fair way to chop up the loss of Pete. So with that being said, the next meeting is November, and that's going to be about the 6-month mark. So if you're good, today would be the last meeting for me to be chair. We can reorganize now, or we can reorganize perhaps the beginning of the next meeting, whatever you want to do.
I'm open for whatever. If Catherine doesn't need to be here, we can do it now, or we can wait. It's 6 of one and half a dozen of another.
Okay, yeah,
Or we-
I wasn't thinking about her not being here, actually.
Okay.
And I don't know if it makes one lick of difference one way or the other, to be honest with you. If I'm chair or you're chair, it doesn't really matter. The only thing, as chair, sometimes I get a little more information as to the day-to-day operations, like when we had the 2-hour notice with the landfill, and sometimes something like that. If there's like something serious goes on, my phone rings. I wouldn't mind still being able to know about something serious that comes up,
Sure.
even though I'm not the chair, I still wanna be involved. I still wanna be all in with the PFAS and the landfill and all that. If we have like a detection over 20, if it's okay if Jim could call me and say, hey, just so you know, we have another hit, just so I'm current on it, cause I do
Sure.
talk to a lot of residents and there's questions and, so I don't wanna be in the dark about some of the stuff, but besides the things like that, I mean, it's up to you, John. We can do it now, do it in the next meeting.
You know what, we can wait till the next meeting. That way Catherine will be here. She won't be, I shouldn't say blindsided, but she'll at least be there for a part of it.
Okay,
And we'll just take it from there.
all right, so let's make a motion, if you can make a motion to table that line item till our next meeting.
All right, I'll make a motion that we table the reorganization of the board to our next meeting, which will be either in 2 or 3 weeks, later in October.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, so we'll do that next meeting. So we have our scheduled meeting, we know when that's gonna be. If there's nothing else, we want to adjourn?
Yeah, I'll
Jim?
make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ooh, 7:45.